Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into another big flavored stout from the Bruery, one of my absolute favorite brewers of big, bold flavored stouts. This one is an Imperial Stout called Oatmeal Cookie, clocks in at 10.2% ABV, and it's been bourbon barrel aged and brewed with oats, raisins, cinnamon, and granola. The brewery is based in Placentia, California. So first thing in terms of can art, label art here, keeping with their typical theme, it's very kind of plain Jane, but they've got kind of elements of what they put in the beer. It's a nice clean design that they use on all their beers like this. I absolutely love it. Oatmeal Cookie sounds awesome, so let's get this cracked. I was already sold on Oatmeal Cookie when I saw this come in my suggested available beer on Tavour. But then bourbon barrel aging on top of it, I was sold. I grabbed it. So let's get this poured. Oh yeah, nice and dark. It's not super thick. At least it doesn't look it as I'm pouring it. But it's very dark, forming a nice head here. So we're just gonna tilt that back just a bit. There's no way it's getting this whole beer in the glass on that first pour. That head is going just too vigorously. Visually, absolutely pitch black. The aroma, I can tell you, is quite pronounced. I can smell it. I'm probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet from that beer. It smells absolutely delicious. Obviously, clearly formed a very nice creamy head. Though it is very active in terms of carbonation, I do expect that a majority of this is going to disappear relatively quickly. But while that head settles, let's get right up over it. Okay. So on the nose, you can really smell the bourbon and you can really smell the raisins and the cinnamon. You know, granola, oats, those are things that are going to kind of bind into the malt bill really more than anything else and not really present that much in terms of aroma. So yeah, I can smell the bourbon, I can smell the raisins, I can smell the cinnamon. That's the main aroma producing ingredients in this beer. Honestly, it's got such an overwhelming, very much oatmeal cookie kind of aroma to it. I can't really pick up that much of the malt bill, which is why I can't really pick up the oats or the granola, which would bind to that. It very much is coming through loudly and clearly. The bourbon barrel, the raisins, and the cinnamon, they all are coming through very clearly. It smells absolutely amazing. It really does smell almost like a batch of freshly baked oatmeal cookies, only maybe they were bourbon soaked or had a splash of bourbon in the recipe. It really smells quite nice. So that had settled down a fair bit here. We're just going to top this off a little bit. I don't think I'm going to quite get the whole can in there just yet. Nope, but that's okay. Looks great, smells great. We're jumping in. Oh, man. Oh, wow. Oh, man. Okay. I'm not normally let down by the brewery's stout offerings, and this is just yet another one in a series of absolutely amazing flavored stouts that they've come up with. And they always have these really interesting, I mean, I'm sure there's other brewers doing this, but man, just the way that they put their beers together, it's incredible. First thing I caught before the initial flavor bomb just like went off and hit me was, wow, as is typical, this has a really nice resistant mouthfeel to it. It gets quite creamy when you agitate. The body I was noticing is medium heavy, so it feels right for a stout in this ABV range. And then you swallow, and then all of the flavors just register. It really does taste like an oatmeal cookie or an oatmeal raisin cookie, whatever you want to call it. The granola that I couldn't pick up on the aroma absolutely translate into the glass, as does the oat. The oat's definitely helping with this head formation and retention. It's still got this nice creamy pad floating around. I mean, this is really as advertised. And this is kind of my experience with all of their big flavored stouts like this. They come up with these big, unique, interesting flavors, and it's beer form of what they say it is. I mean, they just do a fantastic job. This really does taste like drinking a cinnamon oatmeal raisin cookie full of oats and granola and just richness. And yeah, the bourbon is there, but as much as an impact it has on the aroma, in the profile, it's not overriding the underlying essence of what this beer flavor is supposed to be, an oatmeal cookie. It's there, and it adds this nice, interesting element. Helps to boost up some of the other elements in the beer, namely the raisin and the cinnamon. But it's not obtrusive. It's not, oh wow, this is just a bourbon-soaked oatmeal cookie or bourbon-soaked oatmeal dough. No, it's there, but it's got its part to play. It's not playing the lead star and everybody else is secondary. Everything that they put into this has its own voice, and that includes this base underlying malt bill upon which the entire beer is built. Really delicious. As is always the case, you can tell that they put a lot of thought into their base malt bill before they start coming up with the ingredients they're going to put in there. It's really nice, it's really rich, it's deeply roasted, slight suggestions of coffee on the back end. Not that French Italian roast, not that intense, but just a little hint, a little suggestion. So they probably have some roasted unmalted barley in there as well. Overall, as a package, this is delivering exactly what they promised. Oatmeal cookie, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to jump back in. I'm going to get a second sip here, see what else I may have missed on first sip, really pick apart this finish, but this is a truly delicious beer to be certain. Take two. Gets so creamy when you agitate. Yeah. Big burst. Raisin, cinnamon, bourbon. It's all mixing. That takes about 5 so seconds. The malt bill starts to come in. It's not on that coffee side. It's just an underlying roast, which almost really is what kind of lends this cookie sense about it. So it's got these big, bold, bright, fresh flavors. Then about the 10-second mark, that kind of granola flavor starts to come in. It tastes grainy, but then it does take on this very granola. If you've had granola, you know what I'm talking about. It's distinctly different from grains. It's got a bunch of different grains, all processed, maybe bits of corn, oat, wheats, little things in there, honey coated. Yeah, you can taste that in there, and it's really, really delicious. So it really does taste like drinking an oatmeal cookie or like oatmeal cookie batter. And the raisins are popping. The cinnamon is popping, the bourbon is popping, the granola is popping, the malt bill has its own voice. This is just a tremendously well-balanced beer. I just love the Bruery stouts. Their flavored stouts they come up with. They are some of the most inventive and enjoyable flavored beer drinking experiences I have. That's why I always grab them when I see a new one pop up on Tavour. This one is tremendous. I love oatmeal cookies of any kind, and this is just exceptionally well done. So let's talk about the finish now. As I mentioned, the bourbon is not offensive. It's not trying to be the star of the show and everything else is secondary. Everything is really equally balanced truly throughout this entire beer drinking experience. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have a long finish. It's really quite bold, these flavors coming through. And honestly, what's pushing it out on the end of this one, there was a little bit of the bourbon, but honestly, most of all, it's the cinnamon and it's the malt bill. That's the two flavors that are lingering the most on the end of this very, very long finish. It's not dry at all. It's not a dry stout. It's basically a pastry stout. It's big, full, wet, round, all the way to the end, and the flavors just linger on the palate. Nice underlying roast, cinnamon, little bit of bourbon, and there is actually still a bit of that raisin coming through. These flavors are bold. They really stick around. It's got a lot of viscosity, so it really coats the palate. Those flavors really stick. Absolutely tremendous. This is just one of those great flavored beers, and I absolutely love it. I am going to take my time, sip on this, come up with my scores. When we come back, we'll get this beer ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. So this was the Bruery's Oatmeal Cookie, an Imperial Stout clocking in at 10.2% ABV that was bourbon barrel aged and brewed with oats, raisins, cinnamon, and granola. The brewery is based in Placentia, California. So this was just another one of those prototypical beers that was exactly as advertised. What they set out to accomplish in the flavor profile, they absolutely nailed. And here we go again. I mean, I have reviewed hundreds and hundreds of beers in the last couple of years, and this is, again, another one in 2021 that did sweep a perfect score in all categories. So 10 out of 10 in all categories. It does get a total of 100 out of 100. I'm telling you, if the craft brew game is just tightening up the ship, they're still staying inventive. They're just focusing more on balance and what they're putting in there, how to let it speak. I don't know. It could just be dumb luck, but this was just tremendous. Everything about it was exactly right for what it was. The ABV range, it was a very unique and inventive kind of idea for a beer that 100% worked in this beer, and I absolutely loved it. If you're a fan of pastry stouts, these flavored stouts, higher ABV Imperials, this is one. I mean, it was just tremendous. I can't recommend this one enough. I absolutely loved it. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on the notifications, click that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.